everybody. Welcome to We the People. Today I am feeling a little sassy. I just want to warn you. I'm feeling a little spicy, so I hope that you are hungry because it is time to eat. It is time to eat. I've been working on this plan for 4 months. I've been excited about sharing it with you, and it's something that I've been working on for a while. And I've been showing it to people all over the state of California. I've been meeting with people and showing them the deck that I'm getting ready to show you right now because this is part of a 3-part plan to save the state of California. You can't just go at it alone, like we talked about in the last show, and think that you are going to be the answer to all the problems by yourself. You have to go at it with an organization. You have to go at it with a mission statement, and you have to go at it with other players on the court with you. We've seen it before when people go at it by themselves, and we've seen how unsuccessful that is, even if they get elected. And we talked about it in the last show. So what I want to show you guys today is I want to show you the plan. I want to show you what we have been working on. This is part 1 of a 3-part plan that I call winning. And here we go right now. This is called winning. And we're not going to go into the analytics today. We are going to talk about the executive branch, which is what I call the players on the court. This is what is important. This is how we win games. Right now, we barely have any players on the court. We barely have anybody out there that is actually participating in winning elections in the state of California. So we've got to do it. We got to create that organization. So the first thing that we're going to do, and that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to focus on the players. We're going to focus on the right players for the right position. Then at some point or on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the contract with California. We're going to unveil the contract with California. I'm going to ask you to help me with it because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're not just doing this by ourselves, hoping that at some point, we're going to be successful. So what we have to do is we have to build the Oakland A's Moneyball before we are able to build the Los Angeles Lakers Showtime. It's not Showtime in LA before you've got some role players on the team. You can't go out and have a winning organization out the gate unless you focus a little bit more on what winning looks like. And right now, we need some role players. We need some experienced people. We need to bring in new people into the game because right now we are just losing as Republicans. We are, as I've said before, the participation trophy party. And hey, it's okay to get a participation trophy. That means that you were trying. That means you were going for it and you lost. But if you are continuously getting a participation trophy, if you're continuously not winning, we have to reassess. We have to do what Michael Jordan did when he lost against the Detroit Pistons. We have to go to our offseason, put on 30 pounds of muscle, and come back a better player. Now, so the Oakland A's created Moneyball. They found the squad players, the right people in the right position. The Los Angeles Lakers have a dynasty. They have a big budget. They have a big team. So are we there yet? No, we are not there yet. So before we do that, we need to take a look at where we are currently. And where we are currently is we have 0% of the executive branch. 0% out of the 8 members that make up the executive branch, which we're going to talk about in today's show, we have 0 people. Out of our assembly, we've got 19 people. That's 23% of the assembly. You've got to have 50% plus 1 to be effective. In the Senate, 9 people. 22% of the Senate. You've got to have 50% plus 1 to be effective. And this has real repercussions because when you don't have a Republican governor, you at least don't have a governor who has a good feel on what the people are going through, that is disconnected from the people through the suffering on the ground. We're sort of continuously being led by these oligarchs, these political oligarchs, these big family dynasties and these big names. And we don't want to be led by these people that we don't feel like are capable of leadership. We don't feel like that's how America is. We should not be being ran by old family money, old family names. We should not be being ran by the king. So with that, with the governorship comes 11 to 14 judges that you appoint annually. Every year, about 11 to 14 judges. and then 519 appointed positions immediately. 95 of those require Senate confirmations. So Republicans have to win the majority to be effective. Otherwise, we're just a party of lone wolves. We're a party of principled losers. So the best thing that we could do right now is create Reagan's big tent Republican Party. Now, this is what we talked about last week. This is who is currently in office. We need to understand that one man did not run this state alone. One man cannot save this state alone. So this is a little bit about how to understand today's presentation. And I want you to see the slide here and the way that this works so that you understand that what you're seeing. On the top, you're going to have the actual position, the title. On the right is when the podcast emblem is what each one of those people should be concentrating on in their media tour, in their circuit. If there's a dollar amount in the lower left-hand corner, that means that they're part of that business branch, that business part of the executive branch that needs to be concentrated on making money. And of course, this is a little bit of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. You'll find a common sense title and position at the top. You'll find their roles and responsibilities. I want you to run for office. I want you to get involved in the democratic process. Help me find the right people for the job. Step in and run. Don't listen to the gatekeepers. And that's a big part of what happens right now. We have gatekeepers in the process that try to keep the people out, try to keep you out from being heard, your voice heard. They want to pick the establishment candidate. They want to pick the candidate that has been dubbed the correct candidate by the media, by the oligarchs. The people haven't even weighed in yet. And so we need to get involved in weighing in. Republicans should not be afraid of debates. Innovation thrives in competition, not monopoly. Let's let the cream rise to the top. Do not defer to the Republican Party establishment. And likewise, if you're a Democrat and you understand that you have party problems within your own party, just like I understand that we have problems in our party, fix your party. Go to work on your party. You're the majority party right now. Primary the people that need to be primaried. Get good people in the job representing the people. You know that you do not have good representation right now, but right now everyone is so afraid of ruffling the feathers of those in the system. They're so afraid of ruffling the feathers of the political oligarchs around them that they're not willing to stand up for the people and jack the jaw of the system. And right now, the system needs to have their jaw jacked. So we should, and of course, when the time comes, if you have to drop out and endorse a candidate, do it. But until then, let's engage in debate. Let's engage in dialogue. You cannot spoil an election that Republicans are already doomed to lose. You cannot spoil an election with a weak Republican who's already losing, even though they're in Sacramento, they're in Washington, D.C. If you don't feel like you have representation, run for office in your school board, in your city council. We need to have the best candidates run, even if we have to recruit them from outside of the political hemisphere. 13 months is a long time. And what we need to do is we need to find the right people for the right job, even if that means that we're recruiting them out of it. And I understand that our party has a lot of working class people. We have a lot of people that own businesses, a lot of people that are very busy, that are breadwinners. And you can't just drop everything and run for office. I get it. We need people who are willing to sacrifice right now. And that's the truth. Now we're going to jump in to exactly how we're going to fix this thing, just exactly how important all of this is right now. So the governor's position, for those of you that don't know, they're sort of the president of the state of California. They're the CEO of not only the campaign, but of California. We should be using this position to build Reagan's big tent Republican Party, where it all started, right here in California, because we do have our Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter moment right now. We have an opportunity to highlight the catastrophic failures throughout the state of California and rescue California from itself. That's on us right now, and we can do it. The Democrats are not going to save us. We need to be the party that steps in, offers the ulterior party platform, and then comes in and represents the people properly. We need to draft the winning team to the executive branch, to the Senate, to the Assembly, to our city councils, our school boards, our county supervisors. And if that's you, I'd love to talk to you at some point on the show. The governor appoints 519 positions immediately. 11 to 14 judges annually. We should be presenting a Made in California agenda, a California First agenda. We need to unify the Republican Party and win over blue dog Democrats and disenchanted Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats that feel abandoned by their own party. We can welcome them into the Republican Party. And we should lead a mini documentary Democratic Party attack effort. We're not attacking the people, we're attacking the party that has led you astray. Um, we need to lead with fundraising, and we need to champion our cause and bring back FDR's fireside chat and intellectualism. Engage with people. Why are we so afraid to have conversations? And the truth is you're afraid to have a conversation when you don't have anything to say. Now let's move on to the lieutenant governor position. This is an often misunderstood position. They are the president of the Senate. Now this is only really important in the time of a tie in the Senate, which of course, how often has that happened lately? It doesn't happen because we don't have any players in the game. But they oversee key committees. They act as governor if the governor is absent from the state. They chair California's Commission for Economic Development. They chair the State Lands Commission with the controller on alternate years. They oversee the California Ocean Protection Council, and they manage land planning, revenues, and interstate issues, which is state to state. They lease state land. They offshore oil and waterways, and they're an important extension of the governor in a very large state, 58 county state. They oversee the University of California, the California State University, and the California Community College System. All three of the California college systems are overseen by the lieutenant governor. They are our foreign representative for California with foreign countries and businesses, as you've been seeing lately with the tariffs, that states have their ability to negotiate, apply additional tariffs. There's a lot that you can do economically as a state. Um, you work with the foreign trade partners, you develop key relationships, because what's so important about this is that California should be an exporter again. We should have a product that we are sending out. So in your media focus as a lieutenant governor, if you decide to run for lieutenant governor, you should be talking about everything California. And I've talked to a few people about the lieutenant governor position, a few people that I think are very interesting, but it's not up to me. It's up to you. Now, here's the Secretary of State position. Now, a lot of people understand that the Secretary of State position is, in fact, an incredibly powerful position, in many ways more powerful than the governor's position. And I've only had two people tell me that since talking about the Secretary of State position. I go around and I say, oh, you know what? The Secretary of State position, people don't realize just how important the Secretary of State position is, just how powerful that position is, how influential. And everyone just thinks about the Secretary of State position as if they oversee elections and that's it. And of course, if that was it, our Secretary of State would already be a catastrophic failure because we have the worst elections in the country. The worst elections in the country. But the Secretary of State does much more than that. They oversee fair and open elections in California. They should be more participating more in the traditional role of the Secretary of State, which makes California business friendly. It builds the middle class. California negotiates business directly with other states, as you saw with the lieutenant governor position. You can see how these positions need to work together. You can see how it's not just one position at the top that's making all of these decisions, that's running the state of California. It's a whole bunch of people together that have run the state of California. So we can oversee multilateral negotiations with Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Canada and Mexico to solve our water issues, to solve our beach issues. We don't always have to wait for the permission of the federal government to get involved. We can act. We need to solve problems, open up trade, and open up California for business. Solve problems. We're so sick of our government acting impotent. We say that they're the fourth largest economy in the world, and yet Californians are struggling. Californians are suffering. And you look at California and say, oh, well, I'm glad that California is doing so well, but Californians are not doing well. Californians are, in fact, having a very difficult time. So this would help to bring water and farming back to California. to bring technology and innovation, to bring film and television and a manufacturing middle class back to California. There's a lot of ways to do it, but my gosh, freaking our government has got to get out of our way and let American innovation, Californian innovation solve the problems that California has always led the way in. We need to help bring massive development projects to California. We are significantly behind. Our infrastructure is sad. Our cities are disgusting. Our building, everyone's talking about smart cities, but we've got dumb buildings. We've got old, outdated buildings, old infrastructure, and there are so many developers that are chomping at the bit to fix these buildings, to breathe life into these cities, to build new cities. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. And I'm excited about that. That's on the treasurer position. We are going to help build business, create a California billionaire coalition so that billionaires are invested in more than just speculation, but they're invested in our communities and in our infrastructure. And we want to bring capital to the campaign. Now, there are actually 6 divisions that the Secretary of State oversees. It's not just elections, like I said, it is the executive division, it is the elections division, it is the political reform division, Management Services Division, Business Programs Division, and the State Archives Division. You could see that as with the Lieutenant Governor position in that lower left-hand corner, this is a money position. You've got to be spun up on how to run a business. So now this might be my favorite slide. This is the State Treasurer slide. Now, if you want to own a home in the state of California, you should probably pay attention. If you want your kids to someday own a home, or your grandkids to someday own a home, or you want to build a life for yourself or for your family, you want to have a decent income, you are tired of the destruction of your communities, the lack of proper investment into those communities, we need a great state treasurer. We need somebody that understands that investments yield dividends. Now, the state treasurer is your chief of the bank of the state of California. They are responsible for getting California financially productive. We should bank on abundance instead of capitalizing on scarcity. Instead of making it so difficult for us to have groceries in the grocery store, which drives up the cost, for us to have oil, for us to have gasoline, which drives up the cost, for shutting down nuclear facilities makes less energy available, drives up the cost. Not There's all these different things that drive up the cost. Not building new housing drives up the cost. This is so incredibly important for everyone to understand. When you build more product, when you build more housing, you create more product into a market, and because you've created more product in that market, the price of that product goes down. But an important part of this is we have to develop, we have to build. And there is so much land in the state of California to build on. It is absolutely ridiculous. This state is humongous. The treasurer would be responsible for operating a giant real estate business, essentially, because real estate yields dividends. So why are we not involved in developing real estate through private-public partnerships? Because it perpetually yields a dividend. We make more money. We make more tax revenue instead of continuously going after people and squeezing more income tax, squeezing more property tax, squeezing all of the different taxes out of everybody and making it impossible for people to thrive. We should be creating more revenue. We should be creating more cities. We're about 2.5 million homes behind right now in the state of California, and I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to address that. Now, you'll be instrumental in creating that California Billionaire Coalition where we encourage billionaires to invest in their communities. We need to have trickle down economics. If wealth doesn't trickle down, people are going to start getting pretty frustrated. We don't really want to see the world's first trillionaire while people still can't afford groceries. That's a dystopia. This is part of what's so incredibly important for the Republican Party to understand. We do not want to exchange political oligarchs for corporate overlords. That's not the way that this works. The Republican Party is the party of business. It is the party of the middle class, the working class. It is the party of the people. But in order to do that, you also have to understand that we are not the party of Davos. We're not the part. This is not the billionaire class. Um, we want billionaires to invest. We want them to engage in creating more wealth, recirculating that blood. Because the thing is if you don't recirculate blood in a healthy body, then there are problems. So people should be grateful that I'm running. And honestly, I've been meeting with several billionaires recently, and they're excited about what I'm talking about because they want to spend their money. They want to get involved. They want to be a part of the solution. And honestly, people want to spend money. They want to make money. They want to be engaged in the process here in California. But government is so incredibly hostile that it is not financially productive to build anything other than high density housing and luxury housing. That's why all we have is McMansions and friggin' luxury homes and high density housing. We don't see anyone build 2,000 square foot starter homes anymore. We don't have new cities being built anymore. And it is because of CEQA, and it is because of the EPA, and it is because of the abundance of government regulations that makes it impossible for developers to develop without them getting hosed. And when they get hosed, they pass those costs on to us. That's what happens. About 25% of residential development goes to these government regulations and guidelines and the Gestapo, the real estate Gestapo, and about 40% in commercial real estate. So the treasurer oversees that businesses, of course, have a product. We have water, oil, lithium, uranium, 600 in oil and gas leases on over 200,000 acres. In fact, in California, we have 48 million acres. 52% of California is public, and 90% of that is federal. So just how large is 48 million acres? How big is a city? So the city of San Francisco, because we're about 2.5 million homes behind. That's why it's so expensive to buy a house, because the demand has continued to increase while the product has not continued to increase enough to keep up with people. We are way behind. And so if we were to create 2.5 million homes, this is exactly how we would do it. You have the city of Sacramento is 60,000 acres. There's about 200,000 plus homes there. The city of San Francisco is 30,000 acres. There's about 420,000 homes there. We have 48 million acres of public land in the state of California. If you don't know how much public land we have in the state of California, get in your car and go for a drive. Head up the 5. We have a humongous state, an incredible amount of public land, but we have to develop some of it. Now, am I saying develop all of it? That's not what I'm saying. In fact, as part of my contract with California, which we're going to get into on Wednesday, I talk about how we are this party of outdoorsmanship. We should be having more trails and more opportunities for people. But at the end of the day, we could build 800 Sacramentos in that 48 million acres or 1,600 San Franciscos. But that's not what we need to do. We need to build 5. And why do we need to build 5? We need about 200,000 homes in each of those to make up 1,000,000 homes. And then add about 1.5 million homes to existing cities. And I'm not talking about high density housing. There's not a bunch of people that want to live in high density housing. People want to own homes. People want to have a little lot. People want to have an opportunity to bridge the lower class into the middle class into the upper class. And historically, we've been able to do that through real estate. But we have all these speculative boom and bust cycles, which destroy and resets a family's economic opportunities and their wealth. So I want to get more people in the game. The best way to do that is through the treasurer. The best way to do that is to have investments in things that yield dividends. We should be investing in housing and health and water, desalination, nuclear energy, microgrids, and education. The job of the treasurer is to properly fund effective public works programs and eliminate waste, along with the controller. And that's their main job, the controller. We'll talk about that in a minute. They create avenues. We should be creating avenues for people to become homeowners and farm owners. That's originally what the USDA loan was about. We wanted to have small and family farms that would eventually become mid-sized farms. But our farmers have been under attack. And the more farmland that we lose, that doesn't eventually become farmland again. It never becomes farmland again. Now, good businesses create dividends. And we're going to talk about the Golden State dividend on tomorrow's show. But if we are, as Californians, sick of constantly being squeezed for additional tax revenue as our state continuously runs a deficit, we should understand that in other countries like Saudi Arabia, there's an oil dividend. In Alaska, there's an oil dividend. In native tribes, there's often a dividend based on casino revenues. Now, there is a way for us to not just continuously operate in the red while squeezing additional tax revenue out of the people, but there's a way for us to cut down on redundancies, operate in the green, cut that deficit, get to a surplus, and issue a dividend. Because if we're going to run government like a business, which I believe that we should, businesses pay dividends to shareholders. And that's what we should be doing in California with the fourth largest economy in the world. Now, in order to do that, let's create new cities and opportunities where there are none currently. Let's partner with massive developers and small developers and mid-level developers and also major developers like Cul-de-sac, Tolosa, the Seasteading Institute in California Forever. And I understand that a lot of people don't like these big companies because they feel like they're buying up their communities or their farms or whatnot. Well, what if we were able to turn a lot of this loose on land that is not currently developed, that's sitting empty? And like I said, just drive from Sacramento to Oregon. There's so much land out there. Drive out in the desert. There's so much land out there. The Forgotten Coast is some of the most beautiful real estate in the world. It looks like Ireland. It's absolutely beautiful, and yet a lot of it is undeveloped. I would love to see some of it developed. I'm not saying all of it, but some of it developed. And again, we've got a tremendous amount of public land. Now, there's a way to do that. We've already talked about it. We talked about the numbers. Right now, we're going to jump into the next slide here. We're going to talk about the state controller. Now, you know what I was talking about here? I was talking about how there's only two people that have ever talked about the Secretary of State position the way that I talk about it, and that is actually it's Brandon Day of the Lincoln Club, and it is Chris Bish of Chris Bish, who ran for Congress last time, and right now she's running for Congress again. I would love her to run for Secretary of State. I think she'd be amazing. State Controller. Now, the job of the State Controller, a lot of people are constantly talking about Doge California. We need to audit California. In fact, chapter 8 of my book back there, Common Sense for California, is Audit California. I have been on that game. But that's actually a job. That job belongs to somebody. That somebody is the state controller. That's Malia Cohen. So if you're not happy about the lack of an audit that has been being performed on public spending, we need to find an alternative candidate. And I really love Jack Guerrero for this position. And in fact, Jack has been talking about auditing California. I'd love to, and I've asked him to come on my show and talk to me about what an audit of the state of California would look like. So in your media focus, the state controller should be talking about auditing California. They are the chief fiscal officer of the state of California. They focus on Doge in California, auditing California. Make it public. Talk to people about this. Engage with them in the process. Audit these recent bills that people have passed. The lottery, which was supposed to save our schools, the bullet train, the water infrastructure that we voted for, the arts and music funding that we voted for. Where is our money going? And in fact, I feel like this is a great position to run for, just sort of publicly. You could sort of lead the charge. Audit everything. Audit all the major cities. Find out who the highest paid people are and find out where the money's going and to whom the contracts are going. I guarantee you, if we created a group, or maybe you lead this group, and you get a bunch of people together that want to audit the state of California, just start making it public. It would be so exciting. We could create so much buzz. So you would highlight the payroll failures and public works failures, run accounting, payroll, and reporting, eliminate fraud and waste in the state government, work with the treasurer to make public land work for the public, build that business and billionaire coalition that I was talking about and bring capital into your campaign. Audit the teachers' unions and the Democrats with public record requests. And in fact, you could work alongside a Secretary of State candidate, could work alongside a controller candidate, so that Secretary of State candidate is pursuing public record requests, finding the information, getting that information to the controller, who could then perform a detailed, in-depth audit, so that way we could start finding out where our money is going. Wouldn't that be exciting? I think so. And then here, let's get on to this. And then I want to bring back up the screen here. Create new cities and opportunities. Work with that treasurer, work with the lieutenant governor and the secretary of state. Let's create new cities and opportunities where there are none currently, and start now. All that I would talk about if I were the controller in the media would be about how I am auditing California. Now, the state superintendent of public education is an incredibly important role. They are the California Department of Education State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Your responsibility is not just the elementary schools and the middle schools, but also the high schools. You would want to build education up as a state issue, because, like it or not, that could end up being an issue. We could end up seeing the Department of Education defunded or decentralized, and that funding returned to the states, that responsibility returned to the states. And if that happens, we need to focus on California first. We need to focus on California first in education. And right now, in education, are we first? Do we have the highest paid teachers in the world? Do we have the best educated students in the world? We do not. If we had the highest paid teachers and the best educated students, and they were beacons in our community of hope and of success, then that would be wonderful. But that's not what's happening right now. And in fact, the Department of Education oversees over 50% of the state's budget, and they spend more lobbying politicians than the oil companies do. So holy smokes, who are your masters? And when I talk to people about running for attorney general, and I bring up things like, we're going to have a fight with the EPA and CEQA, so that we can develop the way that we need to develop. And we're going to have a fight with the teachers unions, because, we need to be able to free our children. Do your children go to public school? And a lot of these people that are doing very well for themselves, they don't send their kids to public school. So what I'm asking is, give people the same option that the rich people already have, which is whether or not they want to send their kids to public school, private school, charter school, or homeschool them. Give them the power to be in the driver's seat of their education and decide where that money is being spent. We should be not just complaining, but offering alternatives. I really love the documentary Waiting for Superman. I think you should all go check it out. Education is not a one-size-fits-all area. In fact, that's rarely what you see. You see that innovation exists outside of monopolies, and that's what I would like to see. We should have the best schools, the best paid teachers. We should be focusing on licensing, certificate, and voucher programs in our high schools. We should be able to feed our children the best California food in California schools. We should protect, prepare, and bring education system into the future. Innovation does not exist inside a monopoly, like I said. Build relationships between public, private, charter, and homeschools. I meant to put homeschools in there. Give parents the Golden State School Choice Voucher. And not just that, wouldn't it be nice if you had a Golden State Child Care Voucher? Do you know how expensive child care is? And we talk about the right to life and being pro-choice and being pro-life. What if you had the right to be a parent? What if being a parent wasn't going to financially devastate you and your family, and you could have the gift of having life in your family, of understanding that you are not alone in this world, and that in the fourth largest economy in the world, you can afford to go to work? Because right now people are suffering. They're having to choose between making sure that their children are taken care of or having a job, which is why you're seeing people bring their children to job interviews, or having their children sit in the car in job interviews, or going into a restaurant. People are struggling. We should make it more possible for parents to exist. We should make it more possible for our families. And you work with the lieutenant governor to create cooperation between our public universities, our public schools, and to reduce the necessity and eventually eliminate student loans. When I hear the word student loans, it makes me want to take a shower. That used to be something that was in the past. Public universities should be public. And in fact, not so many people need to go to public universities. Not everyone needs to go there. We need to prepare our children properly K through 12. And then college should be for specialists. It should be for pursuing higher education. We need to bring life back into our education system. Now, the insurance commissioner is probably the least gratifying, most punished, most terrible job to ever want to have anybody run for. But that being said, I did have somebody that I was really excited about. She's the CEO of Policy Advisor. She was helping people navigate the FAIR plan. Her and her family also lost their home in the Altadena fires, but she didn't want to do it, and that's okay. I'm looking for someone who has a specialty in insurance, and I'm not looking. At the end of the day, you're looking. We, the people, are looking for someone who could step up and fix the insurance agency. And that's how you're going to do that, is through the role of the insurance commissioner. Right now, we have a failure, just like with all these positions. Governor Newsom did not fail alone. He was surrounded by failures. We have a failure named Ricardo Lara, who is running the insurance commissioner position. And the best way that he thought to do that was by instituting competition through the FAIR plan, through a government monopoly, and eventually it chased insurance companies right out of the state of California. So you need to protect consumers from excessive insurance rate. So you need to oversee fair practices in insurance companies, create sustainable insurance markets. A big part of that is prevention. It's making it possible for insurance companies to do business while they're not sitting on top of a giant wicker basket in the state of California. You investigate and prosecute insurance fraud. You ensure that companies have funds to pay claims. You would need to focus on rectifying the current situation and preventing further catastrophes. That's a big part of it. A big part of making it so that insurance companies want to do business in the state of California, which makes up about 7 to 10% of a healthy economy, is making it so that we're taking care of our forests. We're taking care of our roads. We're doing a better job to take care of our people, because otherwise insurance companies are going to back out. And, we could talk about that and what that looks like on another show. But holy smokes, I don't think that that's the way. We need to investigate and prosecute insurance fraud. You would ensure that companies have enough to pay claims, rectify the current situation. And I think that the way to do that, again, 48 million acres of public land, we could use some of that to get ourselves into the green so that we can address the largest, most catastrophic fire in history. 15,000 churches, buildings, homes burned to the ground. And not only were the fires devastating, the response was devastating. We drop a retardant onto the fire, which is a chemical base, which goes into the ground, it goes into the home, and it makes it difficult to be approved to be able to rebuild again. When I happen to know for a fact that there is a retardant that is a fertilizer-based retardant that you drop on the fire, it quelches the fire, and it also seeds the ground. And then that way, it's not another hurdle that's making it impossible for people to build back on their family home, their family plot, where they grew up, where they raised their children. We can't continuously use these as an opportunity to have a land grab. So we need to create sustainable insurance market. We need to make sure that we're not just taking care of the fire prevention by clearing the forest and logging and microgrids so that there are fire blocks and fire breaks. I grew up in the Sierra Nevadas. It was not uncommon to see fire breaks. We have so much wood in the Sierra Nevadas. We have so many opportunities to create water infrastructure that sits up on top of the hills. And then, I'm sorry, that's my cat making a bunch of noise. We have an opportunity to build water infrastructure because there wasn't water coming out of the pipes when our firefighters needed it in order to fight the fires. Now, when you see the silos and whatnot on top of hills, the reason for that is, and we should have them all over the place, is because even if electricity goes out, the water comes out because of gravity. And so you could continuously use it. We need to do a better job taking care of the response. We need to do a better job in the cleanup. But we also need to do a better job during while we are putting these fires out to make sure that we are not destroying the land. We need to advocate through action, public policy, innovation, and service. Work with the California State Guard, prison systems, and the Forest Service to eliminate these sort of problems again. One second, I need to holler at my cat to get her to stop doing that. I had to put Coco out because I didn't want her crawling across the keyboard like all of these other shows online. And then develop a multilateral deal, negotiate the deal with the controller, the treasurer, the secretary of state to address these 15,000 homes. Because just because the state of California screwed a bunch of people with the California Fair Plan does not mean that the state of California is not responsible for now acting. They thought, the California overlords, the political oligarchs, thought they didn't think that this fire was coming. So they thought they were going to bank a bunch of money and then they weren't going to have to act when the time came. But, shame on them. That's where they're at now. And at the end of the day, you can't now back out of your responsibilities that you pushed yourself into. We're going to have to figure out a way to take care of people. Period. Period. You're going to have to figure out a way to take care of people. Now, on to the next pick. And of course, I know that this show might be a little bit dry, but at the end of the day, it is important for us to get educated about what these different roles are so that we can have a response to the systemic failures in our government. Now, the Attorney General has to be an attorney. I've had a couple of different people contact me about this position, but you have to be an attorney in order to be Attorney General. They are the chief legal officer of the state of California. They oversee the California Department of Justice. In short, all of the law and order that we want to see in the state of California, all of our Main Street being taken care of, our businesses being taken care of, our families feeling safe while they're on Main Street, walking in the parks, when we're playing with our children in the parks, all of that, that's the Attorney General. They're supposed to be our chief legal officer for the state. If you do not feel safe when you are out with your family, if you do not see justice in the justice system, if you are not happy with the justice within our prison system, in fact, it goes bigger than that. It's the mental health system. It is the homeless industrial complex. This is the role and responsibility of the Attorney General, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why right now. And this is one of the things that freaks people out about the role of the Attorney General is it's your job to restore law and order to California. That's a big job. I'm not scoffing that out in any way, shape, or form. You have to protect Californians, communities, and civil rights. There's a line to walk there because you have all these people that are struggling in the streets. You have all of these people that are homeless and they're suffering from mental illness. Some of them can get back into society. Some of them cannot. But I can tell you what is not compassion is having them sleep in and defecate in the streets in front of businesses. People don't want to do that. They are losing their humanity. We as a culture are losing our humanity in front of our children when we have to explain to them why there are homeless people in the streets and why we're not taking care of them in the fourth largest economy in the world, why we have 1/3 of the world's homeless. We are losing our humanity. And I think a lot of us are sick and tired of it, and we want a response. And here's the response. And not a lot of you are going to like it, but here's the truth. And this is something that, people, they say, oh, don't talk about that. We need to bring back institutions. And not from a lack of compassion. We need to be rounding people up, but we need to have the destigmatization of mental health. We went from, one flew over the cuckoo's nest and shutting down all the mental health facilities, which were operating in a state of injustice and not for the health and well-being of people. But we need to understand that we swung completely to the other direction. That is not compassion. That is not humanity. We need to bring back drug rehabilitation centers, and not just for the wealthy elites. We need to bring back mental health facilities, and not just for the wealthy elites. We need to create an opportunity for people to have a wide bridge back into society, but also potential for long-term care. Because some people, no matter whether we like it or not, they're never going to be able to be a functioning member of society. That's true. Some people do not function at a level where they're going to be employable. And why is that the only litmus test for whether or not somebody is worthy of being treated like a human being? If you got a heartbeat, you are worthy of being treated like a human being. That goes all the way across the board. So we need to create a society that is more conducive to life at all stages. If someone has a heartbeat, are they worthy? And I think that they are. And I think it's on us to make sure that they're not left alone. So we need to end drug trafficking. We need to end the shadow economy. All of these people who are getting treated essentially like wage slaves under the table that are working in a shadow economy that a lot of chambers of commerce are well aware of are happening. We have a program for that. It's called E-Verify. We should be using it. We need to end human and drug trafficking in the shadow economy, like I said. Now, this is the hard part. It's going to be the role of the Attorney General to defend justice reform, bringing back institutions and mental health facilities. That's going to be the role of the Attorney General, is defend that in court. It's going to be the role of the Attorney General to defend massive development projects and infrastructure projects so that we could build the kind of housing that we need in the state of California, the 2.5 million homes, just to bring us up to where we should be. I want my children to be able to buy a house in the state of California. I want your grandchildren to be able to buy a house. I don't want people to have to leave the state for an opportunity to live and to thrive and to participate in the American dream. And in order to do that, we're going to have to bring back business. We're going to have to bring back agriculture. We're going to have to build back a middle class. But we're also going to have to develop. We have to build. We are significantly behind, and there is a way for us to do that. But the Attorney General is going to have to be the one defending it. And you're also, if you so choose, you're going to have to defend school choice against the teachers' unions. So when I talk to people about if you get involved as Attorney General, I hope that you're ready to bring back institutions, defend development projects so that we can have more housing. If you want affordable housing, build more housing. It's as simple as that. If you want affordable housing, build more housing. And then you're also going to have to be the person that defends school choice. So when a lot of people hear that, they go, "Holy smokes, David, I don't think I'm up for that." And I've talked to several people. I've talked to 4 or 5 different attorneys about it. And a big part of it is I want to bring somebody in from the outside that's willing to have these fights because I think that they're winning fights. I really do. I think people are tired of seeing the homeless suffer in the streets. I think that they want to see them taken care of. I think that people are tired of not having a choice in their children's education. I think that they want to have a choice. And I think that people are tired of not having affordable housing being built. And I'm not talking about affordable, high density housing. I'm talking about an abundance of housing, which makes housing affordable. And in order to do that, the government in some ways has to get out of the way. We also have to create new cities where there are none. And that, to me, is exciting. And if you're not excited about it, you should go do something else. Now, a big part of this here, my friends, is that we have to contest every seat at every level with everyone. Now, can I do this by myself? Absolutely. I cannot do this by myself. We got to do this together. This has to be an us thing. This has to be a we, the people thing, because we know, like we know that California is not being ran right. Correct? Correct. We know that. Can we agree there? We know that these cities that have had Democratic leadership for decades and decades have not been being ran right. The people are not represented. Can we agree there? Yes. Now, I understand that you have not been excited about the Republican Party the way that it has been presenting itself in the state of California. A lot of us haven't. A lot of us have not been excited. But we're going to build something that you can be excited about. We're going to be unveiling the contract with California on Wednesday. I think you're going to be excited about it. And we're going to engage with you in the process to determine what people like and what they don't like. In order to do that, like we said, we talked about the Senate numbers. We talked about the Assembly numbers. We've got to contest every district. Don't let the gatekeepers hold you back. We need to build a strategy, get players in the game, and expand the bench. Remember, like we said earlier, it is Oakland A's Moneyball before we can be the Los Angeles Lakers Showtime. The Republican Party is not Showtime right now. We are barely T-ball. And then we need to appoint, 11 to 14 judges annually, 519 positions. That's all something that the governor is responsible for when they get in there. And this is what I'm asking for. At the end of the day, I'm asking for you to help me help you. Help me help you. Correct me where I'm wrong. God knows that in all of that, that I probably didn't knock it out of the park. It probably wasn't 100% accurate, but I worked very hard for 4 months to try to get the ball rolling, because at the end of the day, the people are hungry. We're starving. We have no time. We're stretched thin. We can't sleep at night. Our children are suffering. And so it's very hard for us to find time to get educated in the political process. I get that. That's why I did this show here today. That's why I'm doing this show. I want to get you guys spun up so then that way we can change the system together. Let's find the right people for the right job. We went over these 8 positions together today, guys. And we went over the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, state controller, state treasurer, the insurance commissioner, the attorney general, and the superintendent of public instruction. We need 8 great executives. We need it. So help me find the right people for the job. I'm not saying it's a big team. I'm saying let the cream rise to the top. Let people fight it out. Because this is not a me thing, it's a we the people thing. One man did not ruin this state alone. One man cannot fix this state alone. It's us together. And, with God's grace, hopefully we can get it done. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk about the Golden State dividend. I'm excited about that. We are going to talk about the contract with California on Wednesday. Now, the contract with California right now is 26 items long for 2026. We really wanted to focus on big tent Republican Party ideals where most of us can agree. And so we're going to make sure that that's what we're focusing on. And we want to participate with you. So on Wednesday, when you're watching the show, tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Let's add things in if things need to be added, because we're going to do this together. And then on Thursday, Chris Bish is going to join us on the show. She'll talk a little bit about her current congressional run, possibly, but hopefully she'll talk more about this Secretary of State position, which is what I asked her to come on and talk to me about, because people don't understand this position the way that they need to understand the Secretary of State position. Even within this last hour that we spent together, which is exactly how long I wanted this show to be, I need people to understand that this is a bit by bit process. I went through with my initial team, I went through not only part 1, but part 2 and part 3 all in one night. And it was a long night. Today, I went through part 1. Part 1, the players, right? The players in the game. Part 2, is the mission statement. What do we want to do? We want to win a championship. And then part 3 is I've been befriending some crows, and they're outside right now. They're waiting for me to bring them their walnuts. It's super cool. I've been befriending crows. It's been exciting. I'm not going to lie. They're my buddies now. They're out there waiting for me. So I'm going to go out there in a minute. I'm going to give them their walnuts. Okay, cool. They're all out there. I've befriended a murder of crows. I'm very excited about that. So what we're doing is we're focusing on the players. That's what we did today. That's part 1. We're focusing on part 2, which is our contract with California, our mission statement. What do we want to do? We want to win a championship. We want to win it in 2026. And then part 3 is the organization that supports the players in accomplishing that mission statement, right? The organization that supported the Oakland A's, the organization that supported the LA Lakers. That's what I call the Republican Regiment. We might come up with a new name. Some people don't like the word Republican. I just like the idea of organizing as many people as we can in the same room, because then we can decide what we agree on. I said, I will work with anyone on what I agree on, with anyone, and I'll work against them where we disagree. And someone said, they commented, oh, you only want to work with people that agree with you. And I said, I'm thinking, absolutely. Isn't that the idea? You want to work with people that agree with you, where you agree. Then you work against them where you don't agree. It shouldn't be this stupid polarized political situation where it's basically become professional wrestling and grandstanding speeches about stupid issues instead of talking about what is so incredibly important to so many of us. And I'm excited about doing that on Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow for the Golden State Dividend. Thank you guys for watching. Please feel free to share this out. Follow me on Truth Social, TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. In fact, um, and I'm on Rumble, but I'm not so much on Rumble and Truth, if I'm being honest, as much as I am on TikTok and X and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And even X has gotten weird, am I right? X is getting real weird real quick, but I'm going to get out there. I almost want to show you guys this so that you can see my crows hanging out there waiting for me. I wonder if you'll be able to see that. See that? They're ready for me to give them some walnuts. So I'm going to go hang out with my crows, and I'm going to keep working on what we need to work on together. Guys, I'm so excited about this. This has been a lot of fun. This is We the People. I am David Serpa. I'm running for governor, and together we are going to fix this state. Together we are going to flip this state for the people in 2026. Challenge that system. Get to work fixing your own Democratic Party, Democrats. I'm going to get to work fixing the Republican Party, and I will meet you somewhere in that 80 to 90% where we all agree. Fair enough. Talk to you guys tomorrow.